It's about the time you know this ache was never random. You weren't abandoned. You were being aligned. It's about the time you know the waiting was sacred. You had to break, so heaven could pour in. The delay wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It's about the time you know they never stopped loving you. Everything you lost is about to return wholly. It's about the time you know your name was whispered in someone's prayer. You didn't miss it. It's circling back softer. It's about the time you know your silence wasn't empty. The pain was prophetic. It woke you. You're not too late. You're just about to be revealed. It's about the time you know love never forgot you. Someone's been preparing their soul to meet yours. It's about the time you know heaven remembered your name. You've cried enough. The blessing is due. It's about the time you know this ache had a purpose. The next chapter isn't revenge. It's resurrection. It's about the time you know your tears were counted. You were never lost, just hidden for divine timing. It's about the time you know the one you seek is seeking you. That silence you felt? It was God stitching something sacred. It's about the time you know your presence healed more than you knew. You are not forgotten. You are foreseen. It's about the time you know the delay saved you. What left wasn't yours. What's coming is holy. It's about the time you know heaven isn't late, it's exact. You kept going. That alone rewrote destiny. It's about the time you know your soul contract is activating. Not everyone left. One person stayed, in spirit, in silence. It's about the time you know why you were isolated. That breakdown? It birthed your becoming. It's about the time you know you were the prayer and the answer. What you thought was rejection was redirection to reverence. It's about the time you know love is circling back matured. Your name is safe in someone's heart still. It's about the time you know you were never hard to love, just too rare. The love you've given will return sevenfold. It's about the time you know they didn't leave, you outgrew the illusion. You're not behind. You're being divinely timed. It's about the time you know that goodbye saved your light. Someone is waking up to what you were. It's about the time you know heaven hid you for such a time as this. That ending wasn't failure, it was prophecy. It's about the time you know your presence is a portal. The promise still stands. It just needed your surrender. It's about the time you know everything is finally catching up to your soul. They'll say, "How did you survive?" And you'll answer, "Grace." It's about the time you know your love wasn't in vain. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. It's about the time you know God didn't forget. He was finishing the masterpiece. Your loneliness was God's way of removing noise before revelation. It's about the time you know the silence was sacred protection. They couldn't stay because their soul wasn't ready for yours. It's about the time you know love didn't leave, it waited. Your story didn't end. It was paused by grace. It's about the time you know what almost broke you became your anointing. You weren't abandoned. You were chosen to walk alone, briefly. It's about the time you know your name is on someone's lips again. The right one saw your absence as a loss, not relief. It's about the time you know you weren't forgotten, you were foretold. Your energy still lingers in places they try to forget. It's about the time you know your soul was never begging, it was preparing. What you thought was wasted time was spiritual maturity. It's about the time you know the delay is divine mercy, not denial. You're not running late, just entering when the light is right. It's about the time you know what's meant for you is terrified to lose you. Someone still replays the last moment they saw your eyes. It's about the time you know your love planted something eternal. Your prayers weren't ignored. They were echoed in realms you couldn't hear. It's about the time you know you didn't imagine that connection. What shattered you will announce you. It's about the time you know your softness was strength all along. That ache in your chest? Prophecy unfolding. It's about the time you know someone regrets what they let die. You've been seen, even in the silence. It's about the time you know your heartbreak was initiation. The pain didn't ruin you, it refined you. It's about the time you know you were never unworthy, just unmatched. The next chapter begins in holy surprise. It's about the time you know the one who matters still listens for your name. Your tears weren't in vain. They baptized something beautiful. It's about the time you know your intuition was memory, not madness. What you feel returning is not imagination, it's alignment. It's about the time you know they've changed because you walked away. Your soul knew before your mind could catch up. It's about the time you know your nose protected your future. Someone is circling back with reverence. It's about the time you know your love still lives in them. The separation was part of the sacred choreography. It's about the time you know what left is now begging to return. You didn't ruin it. You revealed it. It's about the time you know not being chosen was divine redirection. Someone talks to God about you every night. It's about the time you know your life is someone's answered prayer. The timing wasn't wrong. You just evolved too quickly. It's about the time you know the right person will recognize the divine in you. Your soul is being called home to the one who sees you now. It's about the time you know you were the miracle all along. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. It's about the time you know their silence isn't peace, it's punishment. You were their healing, not their test. It's about the time you know what seemed like rejection was protection. The one meant for you is watching, quietly rebuilding courage. It's about the time you know your gentleness shook their spirit. You left a mark their ego can't erase. It's about the time you know love still wears your name in their prayers. The storm didn't drown you. It awakened your wings. It's about the time you know the next person will know what they're holding. Someone is begging heaven to fix what they broke in you. It's about the time you know your absence is louder than your love ever was. You didn't walk away, you rose. It's about the time you know you're not alone. The universe is preparing your arrival. What looks like delay is divine design. It's about the time you know they saw forever and ran. Your love didn't fail. It exposed what wasn't ready. It's about the time you know your heart was never too much. The divine in you terrified their shallow. It's about the time you know your name is sacred to someone still healing. What comes next will need no fixing. It's about the time you know they didn't forget you, they just can't face you. You planted love. They reaped regret. It's about the time you know your soul's light outlived their shadows. Someone still hears your laugh and feels the ache. It's about the time you know the one is closer than you think. The ache in your chest is destiny knocking. It's about the time you know someone wishes they never hurt you.